Hi everybody, today I'm going to share my Devo with you on Acts 24. So Acts 24 continues the story that began on Acts 21, where Paul gets arrested in Jerusalem, and by Acts 24 he is now presenting his case in Judean court in front of the Roman governor Felix. Now Felix, if you read on, is pretty familiar with Christianity. He knows about the way. So he knows that Paul is innocent, but he doesn't want to let Paul go because he is expecting Paul to pay him bribes. Now Paul doesn't pay him no bribes, so Paul remains in prison for 2 years. But Paul continues to talk to Felix. He presents his case over and over again, talks to Felix about Christianity, and after 2 years, Felix dies. Can you imagine how Paul must have felt? You've been working with this guy, you've been trying to set free from prison, and you've been working with this one governor who you think might set you free, and he dies after 2 years. If I were Paul, if you can put yourself in Paul's shoes, you may say to God, God, where are you? God, I thought you would pull through. God, I thought you told me that I would testify in Rome just like how I testified you in Jerusalem, but now the guy that I have been working with has died. Now what? I feel like this question comes up over and over again. You feel like God has promised you something, and he said, I'm faithful, I'm a good father, I will give you the desires of your heart, and he becomes silent. It could be something that you're praying for, it could be a situation that you're in. You pray and then God lets you down. He's silent. He's not here. He's not answering your prayers, it seems like. What do you do in that situation? My encouragement to you when things like that happen is to actually look back. Look back on all those times, because this is probably not the first time you're feeling this way. Look back on all those times that God has been speaking to you and you felt like he was silent at that moment. For me, it's all those times I was in high school and I was fighting with a friend, or I was fighting with my family or with my siblings, and I'm like, God, just help me get through this. At that time, I felt like God may have been silent. At that time, I felt like God may have not been listening to my prayer. But looking back, I realized that he did. He actually pulled me through that situation. And I look back on the times that I have applied to college and I have applied to graduate school. Some of this is relevant for you guys. I applied to schools and I was praying, Lord, please help me to get into this one school that I really wanted. And he answered some, he didn't answer some other, but the way that he led me was actually the perfect way for me. The same thing happened when I was praying for a spouse. God, I really want to get married. Same thing happened when I prayed, God, I really want to start a family. He didn't answer things on my timeline. I think that's an important distinction that we want to make. He didn't answer things the way I want them to be answered. Because thankfully, I am not God, and he knows way better than I know. When I was applying to jobs, some jobs I didn't get because God knew better than I knew that the way that he was leading me was better than the way that I could have ever imagined for myself. So he's not going to answer every prayer, but he will answer every time you pray. It will be yes, no, or wait, but he will answer every time you pray. He is faithful. And same thing happens with Paul if you continue to read on the book of Acts. If you continue reading, God has promised Paul, right, that he will take him to Rome so that Paul can testify about Jesus in Rome. Now, God uses some extraordinary measures. You'll learn about them in our next devos. He uses some interesting ways to bring Paul to Rome, but it takes him there. Paul gets to Rome and he gets to testify Jesus in the Roman court, just like how God has promised him. So guys, I really want to encourage you to hold on to his faithfulness. And if you cannot look back and think about and remember his faithfulness in your life, I encourage you guys to read the Bible because the Bible is full of stories of God's faithfulness in both Old Testament and New. Think about David, think about Esther, think about Hannah, all those people who prayed and groaned like, God, where are you? I feel like you're silent. And in a few chapters later, God always answers. He always pulls through. Your God always pulls through. I want you guys to hold on to that promise. He will always answer you every time you pray. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Ba da da